Guys, I'm excited about this for two reasons. One, the topic, but also for this incredible audience that you guys are here at 5 p.m. at the end of the day. Thank you so much. Very excited to be speaking with both of you. John from Lenovo. It's been how many years at Lenovo? It's been 12 years, I
Well,
think.
yeah, 12
No?
years of Lenovo, 10 years
Incredible. And
prior.
tell us a little bit about what you oversee.
Yeah, so I own the AI cloud and scale computing business. So that goes everywhere from how we go to market to all of our products.
Incredible. And David, NVIDIA, I think we don't need to introduce either of your companies, but I think it's been 9 years for you?
Yes, 9 years, nearly 10 years at NVIDIA.
Wow.
So I think you probably know a little bit about what we do, but I run the regions of Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So we engage with our customers every day trying to help them build AI.
Incredible. And so obviously two heavyweights of the industry with incredible experience. This topic I also feel is particularly relevant in light of some of the big infrastructure investments that have recently been made in Europe. So particularly interested to dig into this with you guys. So just maybe to start it off, and then we'll go into more detail. We're going to talk about AI gigafactories. We've gone from talking in this industry about AI agents. Now we're talking about factories, kind of like these city-scale spaces. And we're now talking about gigawatts. John, I want to start with you. For people that may not have any idea what a gigawatt scale is, give us an idea and tell us how strategic is this for Lenovo?
Sure. Well, I mean, if you look at it from a standpoint of where we are today, the capacity that you see today is actually looking to double within the next 3 to 5 years. Right. And if you look at AI in particular, about 20% of those that are being built today from a data center perspective that are gigawatt size are actually going to be AI devoted. And so when you look at the scale of what that means and how quickly that is growing, it adds complexity to everything we're doing. And it really makes a compelling argument for our customers to look to us and to NVIDIA for real help on how do you actually execute to that magnitude and size.
Incredible. And maybe for people who don't really understand what an AI factory is, David, maybe you can tell us, first of all, what is it and why did we need this?
So an AI factory is, in a very simple terms, it's a data center, but it's much more than that. We talk about things called land, power, and shell. And one of the fundamental challenges for Europe and more globally is, first of all, getting access to power. That's one of the fundamental things. Without power, ultimately, there's no AI, and that's the basic simple thing. But really, an AI factory is how you look at compute these days. It's right the way from the basic layer of power, infrastructure, compute, but also then the models, the application. And all those elements have to be optimized and work together to optimize an AI environment. And what you produce from that is intelligence, and hence why we call it an AI factory. So the first time in human history, a data center is probably not a cost center, but actually a revenue stream and an opportunity to drive increased business in terms of outcomes for insights into various different industries. And that's really the key differential of why it's an AI factory.
Incredible. We're going to come back to the revenue piece in a little bit. Tell me if I'm incorrect. I think this was announced at CES earlier this year,
Yep.
the collaboration between the two of you. Why does it make sense for Lenovo and NVIDIA to team up for something like this? David, I'll start with you this time.
Well, we've been partners for a very long time, so it's not that new. But actually, the organizations who have the skills and capability to build at that scale are relatively few. And Lenovo is one of our partners who've been working a long time, who really embraced the vision of our founder and CEO, Jensen, when we started to think about how do we build these scaled environments which can be optimized across potentially hundreds of thousands of GPUs, which are going to really drive the sort of economy going forward. And that requires deep engagement, collaboration, co-engineering, and really working very closely across the whole ecosystem, including other partners. But the main element of that is working with our compute partners like Lenovo.
Incredible. And partnership, what does that actually mean on a daily basis when you guys are working together? John, how do you see this?
Well, again, if you look at it from a standpoint of what we've done with NVIDIA from the very early days, HPC deployments where, again, it was very complex, and being able to actually partner with a great partner like NVIDIA to understand the technology, what needs to be required to actually execute on that technology, It is something that is not a quarterly meeting or a press brief or something like that. It is engagement on a daily level at a pure engineering point. It's expanded now into things like liquid cooling, where, again, this is something that's not new to the industry, but new to a lot of folks that are in the industry. And again, having that ability to actually do co-design and co-engineering work with folks like NVIDIA has been key to making sure we can execute this technology to really benefit the customer.
Incredible. And so tell me, like, step by step, we have a cloud provider that wants gigawatt capacity. What happens?
Well, that's a $1 million or $1 billion question, really. When you look at it from a standpoint of how we approach this, it's really in four stages. It really looks first well, the concept. What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to accomplish that? What are you trying to do with that? What are your end goals? And if you look at the complexity of what needs to be designed, not only from the GPUs that you put there, but the thermal and cooling and the power that David mentioned earlier, how do you lay out your data centers to make sure you're optimized around those things? So Lenovo comes in and works with the infrastructure teams to understand how you're going to lay that out. What is the network going to look like? What is the storage going to look like? And are you fully optimized when you actually have a plan so that there is no delay? Because really right now, it's all about how quickly you can get those things deployed. And so having the right plan up front is very important. It goes on to then building it. All right. So if you look at it from a standpoint of where we are, we want to make sure that we are building close to these sites. We have manufacturing sites worldwide. How do we get that product from pieces to actual working solution as quickly as possible and delivered to customers on their sites where they're going? And then the last part, well, not the last part, but the next part is really around deploy, right? Customers, again, when you're looking at the scale of these deployments, they're looking for us to help them through these types of things, right? So how do you actually bring these racks in? How do you hook them up? How do you make sure that they're plumbed for liquid? How do you make sure that they're wired and they're actually up and running in the quickest amount of time possible? And then the last one is optimized. Having all this stuff in place is great, but if it's not optimized to actually get you the tokens that you're looking for or do the workload that you actually wanted to do, deploy it, is really, it becomes a large suck on resources. So bringing folks in like NVIDIA and making use of their NVIS service and things like that have been key in some of those types of phases.
Incredible. And David, where specifically does NVIDIA come into play?
So NVIDIA really works alongside partners like Lenovo with whoever the end customer is and looks at the full stack. And as I talked about before, it's right away from the energy level up. And we talk about this being the 5-layer cake. And you need to optimize right the way through. If you want the best performance model out there, the best performance application that's going to be driven from that model, and the best sort of token economics is out there, or tokenomics as we call it now, that throughput and that performance is driven by a full stack optimization. So you have to work across all the layers to really see the potential of what that is. And that's where we get involved. We help our partners in terms of delivery, but also once the cluster's set up and you start to go into operations, it's how do you optimize the models and the application level and the orchestration of that cluster to be really, really effective and drive out the best sort of economic value from that investment.
Super. So we've touched a little bit on the economics, and you mentioned earlier that this is no longer a cost center. I really want to talk about money. I think every cloud provider is under pressure to monetize. So how are we actually measuring ROI here? John, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so again, there are 1,000 different new metrics that have come out and people are looking at. All of which are important, and really, you want to make sure you're tailoring these things to what you're trying to deploy. But what seems to be common across just about all of these is time to token, right? How quickly can I actually take the concept that we talked about in the last question and really put it to use and deploy that out to our customers, right? When you look at it from a standpoint of the resources and the capital that are really have to go into these projects, the longer it takes to actually deploy them, the more you're losing productivity out of these manufacturing sites now, right? So your time to token is key on a lot of our customers when they look at the economics of how they improve and where they're actually trying to drive to.
Interesting. Is that the same opinion you have, David, for NVIDIA? What are customers trying to optimize for?
Yeah, ultimately, it's about speed to token, and it's about the cost of generating that token, and it's the optimization of that, particularly for inference at scale, that's really really critical. It's proven already. Ultimately, AI is giving you time to insight, and you have to look at the return on investment on the use case and how quickly you can deploy and therefore provide inference and insight. And so far, given the demand of deployments globally, I think it's proven that there's a good ROI.
Incredible. So it's been kind of maybe a little bit abstract. I want to know, for people in the room, for the European ecosystem, what impact do you guys think this will have for them? Maybe, John, you could start with that.
Sure. I mean, well, first and foremost, we have some great partners that are here at the conference today that are deploying these things.
Any names you can share?
Well, sure. Nscale is one of our larger ones. Sisters right here in France has been a great partner of ours. And so there are multiple customers that we have in Europe. And we see this, again, new data centers coming up. So a lot of the folks in places like Norway, Iceland, and in the northern areas are deploying new data centers, which we're seeing everywhere, by the way, not just in those areas, but then also retrofitting of existing data centers. A lot of things here in France, we've seen retrofit to actually get to the scale that we're talking about and really drive some of that. You see a lot of the folks here now that are looking at sovereign deployments, where they're really looking at how do I deploy something that is wholly operated outside or inside of their own country. And we see that quite a bit here in Germany, France, even in the UK, where we see a lot of these deployments actually being put out into the market.
Very, very interesting. David, I'd love your thoughts on this, especially because you cover very actively Europe. What are you expecting to be the impact on this market and this ecosystem?
Well, I think it's quite clear that, originally maybe 12, 18 months ago, Europe was definitely behind in terms of having access to the compute platforms to really transform their economies with AI. I think that gap is now starting to close, and events like this just demonstrate the level of interest in the market opportunity. And ultimately, without compute, there is no AI. So for Europe in particular, this is incredibly important. Getting access to this compute really enables all these amazing startups that you've seen here in the last couple of days. And those startups will help some of our major enterprises transform themselves into true AI companies. And that's really the opportunity that we have. I think the other perspective is, a lot of people say is, Europe's behind, there's the frontier models, there's all those other things. But AI is moving to sort of the next phase, and that is two key areas. One is in domains. So Europe's companies have a huge amount of data and knowledge about very specific things in certain domains, whether it's healthcare, whether it's manufacturing, etc. And that data is hugely valuable. That is the last element in the post-training that allows you to actually deploy AI, deploy agents to actually act on your behalf. And Europe has that data. So there's a huge opportunity for industries to catch up and leverage that data. And the next area really is really, really exciting is physical AI, robotics. Most things that move will become robotic, whether it's a vehicle, a physical humanoid, or whatever. And that's really the next frontier of AI. And that's something that Europe knows a lot about. Manufacturing, we have a great robotics ecosystem here. And therefore, I think there's a lot of opportunity to leverage these sort of AI factories to turbocharge that particular effort.
I love that. I totally agree with you. Everyone's talking about physical AI, and there's definitely a space for Europe in that movement. I also want to know, this is probably not the only AI factory that exists. You're not the only ones doing this. What makes this one different and unique? I'm going to start with you, David.
I think at the very basic level, the partnership gives the co-engineering. It's optimizing, for that sort of drive for tokens, speed to insight. That's really makes a difference. These are incredibly complex environments to operate, and the engineering required to do so, there's something like 3 million cables in an average 10,000 GPU cluster. That is incredibly difficult to manage, to operate. That's without any of the other complexities of managing models and orchestration and all those other things. So this is very, very complex things to do, and therefore close collaboration with partners and across the ecosystem from every layer is absolutely critical. And that makes this sort of partnership and this engagement unique, is because we have to really co-engineer across all levels, not just at the beginning, but right the way through the operation of the AI factory.
Incredible. You said 3 million cables.
Yes.
That's insane. It's very concrete. I love it. John, what can you add? What can you tell us that differentiates this from others?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, well, first and foremost, David's point around the collaboration is key, right? I mean, there's no doubt that that's the foundation of where we are and how we continue to work on that success. If you look at it from a Lenovo perspective and kind of what we've positioned is really to bring all of these things in-house to make sure that our customers have a single point of contact, whether that be the concept phase where we have our own architects, we actually look at the specifics of each customer environment and how we can optimize around that, to our manufacturing. We own all of our manufacturing sites, so we can control everything from quality to security to how quickly we can deploy these things. And our service departments, they're all in-house as well, right? So all of these things to make sure that, again, we are able to help to control all the different stages and work closely with our customers so that there is a communication link there across everything that makes sure that they're as successful as they can be, as quickly as they can be.
I love that. We're running low on time, so I'm going to ask you guys two last questions, one each. John, I'm going to start with you. A myth about AI factories that you want to bust for people in the room.
Well, first, I say everyone thinks it's easy, right? The complexity that's involved in there is huge, right? And when we have customers come in and ask, all right, well, I'd like to deploy X amount of GPUs. Okay, well, what else do you need to do? What other things are you looking at? How are you going to deploy that networking? How are you going to look at the liquid cooling aspects of these things? There's a lot of pieces to that. And so it's not as easy as I want to buy a server and I want to deploy that in a data center, right? So, but look to folks like ourselves and NVIDIA to help with that and guide you through that journey, right? So that's, come by, see us. Happy to have a conversation about how we can help you deploy your first AI gigafactory.
Super. And David, what's one thing that keeps you up at night at this scale?
The thing that keeps me up at night is really thinking about how quick we can deploy and the things that we can't control through engineering. And it's things like the speed to access for permitting, for power, all those things that delay data center deployments are things that worry me because the demand is there. Right now there are no GPUs available anywhere in Europe. If someone wants a GPU, right now you're going to have to wait at least 12 months to get access to it. That is a real constraint on Europe's economy. It's a real constraint on the businesses here, and that's some of the challenges. So, we can engineer many things, and we can accelerate. We can be creative. We can build containerized data centers. We can do many things, but ultimately it comes down to access to that land and power that really drives how well we can execute in region.
Incredible. John, anything keeps you up at night?
Well, no, other than the fact I want to make sure people know we have GPUs, by the way, if you're looking for GPUs. But I mean, again, there's not one thing that keeps me up at night. There's multiple things that keep me up at night. But again, it is all the things that we can't control, right? It is how quickly can we see these deployments from a manufacturing perspective, the supply chain that goes along with every aspect of this. There's just not, because of the complexity, because of the 3 million cables that you mentioned before, there's so much complexity involved in the supply chain aspect of this. And again, when you look at some of the expertise that we have in that supply chain, it helps me sleep, but it doesn't completely alleviate that.
I understand that. Well, we're almost out of time. Maybe one last message for people in the room. David?
I think Europe has a huge opportunity. I think we just need to believe and act. I think we could really transform Europe's economy.
Other than to thank the partners that are here that have worked with us in the past and to welcome anybody who hasn't to come by and visit and talk to us about it.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much.